Hello, hi everyone. Hello. Happy Tuesday, April 11th, and day 16 of 30 days of IG Live. Hi, Kelsey. Good morning, love. Hi, Saskia. Good morning, ladies. Hi, my phone's falling. Hi, Priscilla. Hello, love. Great photos this morning. Thank you so much. Those were awesome. Hi, Luna, love. My little Luna love, my little Luna love. I need a new tripod. My tripod is all messy. Mirete, hello. Loved your picture today. Happy rising. What does that mean? Somebody tell me. Hi, Space Fairy. Somebody tell me what happy rising means. So I know we just had a full moon, so I got that part. What does happy rising mean? So is the moon rising? I'm rising, you're rising, we're all rising, thank God. But what is happy, what does it mean? Anyone? Anyone? Happy rising? Give it to me before I start all about Lemuria. I'm feeling the Lemurian energy today. I just sat in meditation with the Dhamma and I was like, oh, gosh, that's right. Instead of good morning, I lost it. Instead of good morning, because morning sounds like morning. Oh, morning. Oh my gosh, so instead of saying good morning, happy rising. Oh, got it. That's awesome. Hi, so happy rising. That's amazing. Plus, considering we are rising on many levels. I love that. Hi, Mary. Good morning. So glad you're here. Okay, loves. Today we are doing Lemuria. I'm really excited about this. A lot of interesting things came to me when I was sitting with the idea of this topic this morning. So if you're here listening, I invite you to just sort of center into your body, and as I'm speaking these words about Lemuria, allow them to activate that heart center within you. Where we're going, where we are moving towards, everyone says the new earth, and it's very true. We are moving to the new earth. But what does the new earth look like? Well, it's Lemuria, right? We're actually moving back to where we originally came down into. So we originally incarnated onto the Lemurian continent or the Atlantis continent, right? So if you've been around for thousands and thousands and thousands of years, you have lived on Lemuria. And it's beautiful that it sank and that, it was all part of the process and it needed to do that. But what's happening now as we are moving back into this fifth dimensional frequency, we are becoming the beings we were in Lemuria. And so this new earth, this the shift that's happening is moving us back into the Lemurian energy and what Lemuria was like. So let's go into a little bit of what it was. So hi, Casey. Lemuria began around 4.5 million BC and was part of this planet until around 12,000 years ago when it sank. It was 12% larger than Australia right now. It extended along the entire Pacific Ocean, so it went from Japan all the way to the west coast of California and Oregon, a little bit of Washington. It was actually called Mu. It was not called Lemuria. It was the Lemurian civilization, but it was called, how long ago did it sink? Hi, Marie. It sank about 12,000 years ago. And they actually discovered in Japan, off the coast of Japan, they discovered the ruins of an ancient city. And so these ancient cities are actually popping up under the ocean more and more. If you Google it, you'll see it. So it's pretty interesting. So 12,000 years ago, it sank. Not that long ago, in comparison of how long it has been here, right? So 4.5 million BC is a long time. So anyways, so it was called Mu, and it was called Mu because the first original beings that came to Lemuria were from the land of Mu, which originated in the Dahl universe, Dahl. So the Dahl universe is one of God knows how many universes we have that are all connected to Source. And they were star beings. And they were the first original beings that came to Lemuria, or Mu. And after they came, many other star beings began to incarnate onto the Lemurian continent. So the Sirians, Alpha Centauri, and the Palladians were three of the largest races that came down first. And hi, Brooke, and these beings were the original beings that came to Lemuria. And then after that, all these other star beings came, star families from all over the universes of universes. Every ascended master has most likely lived on Lemuria multiple lifetimes, as well as Atlantis. That is, and what ended up happening is these star beings came, and then they created their own sort of species, or human, or whatever that was, right? So these star systems, they created the mermaid, right? So they created the half human, half fish. They created a lot of species on Lemuria. And so, let's see. The energy of Lemuria is the Divine Mother. So it's a heart-centered consciousness. It is all of these beings that lived in Lemuria, were connected at all times to their Christ consciousness and their higher selves and their I am present. So at all times they were completely connected, living from their heart instead of their mind. So what we do here right now is we live in our minds, and we're living more in our hearts, right? Thus that shift into the Lemurian New Earth. They were always connected. This is also what's happening to us, right? We're starting to connect with our higher selves more. We're starting to bring in our Christ consciousness, open up our heart, right? Activate that threefold flame within our hearts. And so we are beginning to move into that Lemurian energy, that Lemurian space. So these beings were completely connected at all times. They knew exactly who they were, where they came from. They had connections straight back to their star families and to Source. They lived their world was very much like, if there's any place on the planet right now that really resonates with the Lemurian energy, it's definitely Hawaii. The islands of Hawaii, which is why so many of us, when we go to Hawaii, our heart opens, right? We're like, oh my God, what is this energy I feel? Most of us don't want to go home. You feel at home when you're on these islands. You feel very different than when you're back on the mainland. And that's the Lemurian energy. The beings were very, very, there was not a lot of individuality. They are one, right? So it was a collective consciousness, a oneness about this continent. They vibrated together. They manifested together. They lived in harmony with each other. They created and manifested instantaneously. So there wasn't this idea of how do I manifest or I'd like to create. if there was something they needed, or if there was something they desired, it was a thought and it was created. It was instantaneously given to them. They had no doubt of their ability to bring in what they needed. They had no doubt that life is supposed to be effortless and ease and grace, right? They had no doubt that they were never going to be in lack. You know, as I was feeling this energy of the Lemurian continent, I was like, wow, this is totally where we're moving to. These are the lessons that we're being given right now. These are the this is what we're moving to, right? This feeling of I can manifest anything I want. I can have ease and grace in my life. I can live from my heart. They spoke telepathically, right? There was no greed, there was no anger, there was no judgment. They lived with all the different species on this continent were equal. So they never killed animals. Animals didn't kill each other for food. They were seen as spirit. They were seen as equals. There wasn't this hierarchy of, you know, this animal eats this animal, that eats this animal, that eats this animal. That's very dense. That's a very dense thought process. And we are moving into that we are moving into that space where we are beginning to really understand and recognize that every single being, every single animal, every single insect, every single species out there is spirit just like we are, right? So that they have that spark, that light just like we do. And we're awakening to that, right? We're becoming much more aware of that. If you're noticing, the animals are starting to become more awake. They're becoming more human, if you could say that, only because it's relatable to us, right? They're interacting with other animals that they normally would not interact with. Why is that? It's because everybody's awakening. All these beings, spirits, are awakening, including the animals, because they're becoming what we were in Lemuria. You know, you could have a bear hanging out with a freaking lion, or, you know, whatever it was. There was no killing. They stood around 12 feet tall. By the time Lemuria sank, they had shrunk to around 7 feet. So they were very tall beings on the Lemurian continent. They lived by the moon and the tides, so they were very, very, very connected to Mother Earth. They were very connected to nature. So their church, their way of connecting with Source while they were on the planet was through nature, and the moon and the sun. So they were very connected to that. What else were they? They were, there was no disease. Like I said, there was no lack, there was no limitation. They lived in peace. They were able to balance the masculine and the feminine together. So we are very masculine, right? And we're beginning to learn how to bring up this feminine energy and merge the two, right? So there's this major sort of not tipping of the scales, but just bringing up the feminine energy more so that the masculine and the feminine can merge. And if you notice on the news and all this other stuff, there is a the masculine is feeling this feminine rising, right? And they're reacting to this energy. It's almost like they're getting louder. So the masculine energy is getting much louder right now as the feminine energy is beginning to rise, which is normal. It's like our ego, right? As we begin to rise, our ego gets louder and louder and louder. As we begin to get more centered in our heart, our mind gets louder and louder and louder. So it's the same thing with the masculine and the feminine energy. So as our feminine energy on the planet rises, The masculine's like, what the freak is going on? I've been in control for so long. Um, Watch out, right? And so we've got the stuff that's going on in the government. We've got all the stuff that's happening because this feminine is rising. And there is going to be a time where the masculine and feminine will merge and balance each other out, like in Lemuria. In Lemuria, they balanced the heart and the mind, right? So they were able to live with both. That's where we're moving towards. We're moving to that balancing of the heart and the mind. They lived, for the most part, in this fifth dimensional or higher frequency. But they were very much able to move down into a third dimensional frequency if that's what they wanted to experience. But they were in a much higher frequency than we are. Again, us, we are moving to that, right? So we are shifting into that higher frequency and that higher vibration, and we will be able to, which we're doing right now, by the way, moving back and forth. So the synchronicities of how they lived in Lemuria and what we're going through right now is very similar. I mean, it's kind of shocking, like, oh my God, we really are moving back into the Lemurian age. It's very, very interesting. So what else? They had pyramids, they had crystal caves, they had temples that they would use to, almost like we use spas or we use places to go get massages and things like that. They used these temples and these pyramids and these crystal caves to activate more of their light body, cleanse their energetic system, contact their star families, like whatever it was that they needed to do. They used these pyramids, they used these temples. They had 12 sacred flames. They did not have just 7. They had 12 sacred flames that they held on the continent, and the other 5 flames that we don't have access to right now on our planet, which we will eventually, are just a higher frequency, a higher vibration that we can't quite access yet, which we will be able to. It's just like our other 5 chakra systems that we don't quite have access to, but we will. They had access to all 12, and so they used all 12 of these amazing sacred flames for healings and activations and whatever it was that they needed. Let's see, what else can I tell you about this amazing continent? So, when we're sitting here trying to feel into, like, what's happening with all of us, right? It's like Lemuria. What is Lemuria? Why am I so connected to Lemuria? It's because you've had many lifetimes in Lemuria, number one. And it's because you are being reminded of where you're going, which is back into that state of heaven almost, right? Of this ability to live on this planet in this state of complete awakening from your heart, completely merged masculine and feminine, mind and heart, in oneness with everybody and still individual, right? So Atlantis was very masculine, very individual, very centered in the mind, right? And so we are merging those two. And so when you're feeling like Lemuria being called, Lemurians calling me, it's because you had lifetimes there. It's because your family is there. It's because you've been that was the first place you incarnated. It's like we incarnated there first. Unless you incarnated less than 12,000 years ago, which thousands and thousands of spirits came in way after Lemuria. And never actually lived on Lemuria, and that's possible as well. But if you're feeling this heart-centered, like, oh, when you think of Lemuria, that's why. Everything we're being taught to move into is the Lemurian energy. Everything that we're learning how to do and be is the Lemurian energy. And so the new earth, the shifting, is the shift back into Lemuria with the merging of Atlantis, right? That combination of both. The reason it fell, the reason why Lemuria sunk 12,000 years ago is so we all have free will. So they had free will in Lemuria as well. And they began to play around with their free will. And they started misusing their powers. They began to slowly disconnect from their Christ consciousness and their higher self. They slowly began to play around with duality. They began to pull away from the masculine energy, and they began to have wars with Atlantis. So Atlantis wanted to control the other 5 continents and all the civilizations on those continents. Lemuria wanted to let those civilizations be and just live as however they wanted to live. And so as the Lemurian civilization began playing with their free will and really separating themselves from Christ consciousness, I, higher self, I am presence, the light within them started to dim. They actually began to shrink into 7 feet people. And they started thermonuclear wars with Atlantis. And eventually those wars destroyed them. And those wars sunk both continents, which was beautiful. It was just the way it was supposed to happen. You know, what's happening now, 12,000 years later, is it's rising. We are moving into that new space, that new energy, the Lemurian energy. The reason that there isn't a lot of, well, like I was saying earlier, you know, off the coast of Japan, they have found civilizations under the ocean, ancient civilizations that they don't have any explanation for, you know. So for those of you that are very scientific based, there is ancient cities, both in the Atlantic and the Pacific Ocean, that they can't explain. So they were here. Let's see, what else can I tell you about the Lemuria? It's just fascinating to me to feel that how connected we are right now with them, and how we are being educated, or we are being taught, especially by those 5th dimensional beings inside the earth, who lived Lemurian and still live that energy. They are assisting us as we ascend. And when you say ascend, it's like, well, that can mean so many different things, right? It's not that big of a deal. It's just moving back into where we originally came from when we incarnated on the planet in the first place, right? So we're just going home. We're just going back to who we originally came down here as. And so we're learning all of that, right? And so we're learning how to be in this 3rd and this 5th. We're learning how to be in our bodies and be in our spirit. We're learning how to bring in higher self and feel that energy and be in this density, right? And be grounded and be focused. You know, Dama gave me this analogy today when I was meditating with him that's awesome. The analogy was this. And this is about shifting back and forth from 3rd to 5th, right? Which is what we're all doing. Whether you're conscious of it or not, doesn't matter. It's still happening to you. So there's 2 televisions in your living room. There's an HD TV that's like so awesome. Like you can see everything. It's like, it's so clear, and there's so many direct messages coming in. And when you look at it, you're like, oh my God, that is freaking amazing. And then you've got this other TV that is kind of janky, kind of old. It's got an antenna, and you have to like play around with the antenna in order to get the right picture, and the picture never really looks that great, and it's always kind of fuzzy, and you're always trying to like squint your eyes to see. That's the 3rd and the 5th, right? So you got the 3rd dimension, which is very dense, like you're having to like play around with this antenna to get that clarity and to get that like connection, and it's always a little bit challenging and difficult, and you're always squinting your eyes like, who the hell am I? What am I doing here? And then you switch over to the 5th dimension, right? And you're looking at this amazing, everything is clear. You're super connected. Like it's no effort whatsoever. You're just hanging out watching that TV. And that's the difference in these different frequencies that we're feeling, right? And we're moving through both of these at the same time. These are both happening simultaneously on this same timeline. In Lemuria, they were completely connected at all times, right? So they were always in that HD TV, but they were able to very easily step out and go into this third dimensional frequency if they wanted, always keeping this connection though, right? So what we're doing is we're literally going from one television to the next, kind of like literally like sinking straight into that other television, and then sinking back into that the 5D HD television, right? Eventually merging both of these so that we can kind of see both at the same time. And in Lemuria, they were focused, centered, super connected into this HD TV. That was them. And if they wanted to go down and to experience more of this dense reality of the planet, they were able to do that. But they always had this, they never left that connection of that HD television. And so what we're learning to do as we're going back and forth between the janky television that you can hardly see and the HD awesome television, as we're going back and forth, which is why you're going crazy in your head a lot, which is why one day you're like, I am so yes to everything, and the next you're like, life sucks, what am I doing? I don't want to be doing this. It's because you're going back and forth between these two televisions, and eventually we will have merged both. Right? So you will be able to be in this third dimensional space of the planet, right? Of the earth, the ground, and completely connected to who you are, to this 5-dimensional frequency, which connects you straight to your higher self and your I am presence. And there's all these beautiful, amazing teachings out there and courses you can take on how to be more in this 5th-dimensional frequency and how to, activate your light body, and all these things are out there right now, which are fabulous. But also just know that it's happening no matter what, which I've said over and over again, so you don't really have to do anything. That TV is in your living room. That janky TV is in your living room, right? These are both of your realities at the same time. And if you just remember that continent, Lemuria, you lived many, many lifetimes on. You understand that life. You understand who that being was there. And that's where you're moving to. It might lessen the frustration or the annoyance or the confusion as to what's going on. You're just walking yourself back to Lemuria almost, or walking yourself back to this space of being who you really are, right? And even when you were on Lemuria, even when all these ascended masters were on Lemuria, that wasn't who you were, but you were completely and utterly connected to who you were. You knew you were from Source, or you knew you were from the star system, the Pleiadians or the Sirians. You knew you were who you were. You knew you were down here, right, experiencing the planet. There was no doubt what was happening. There was no disconnect of what was happening. You understood that every animal and every species was doing the exact same thing, right? So you were all on this continent experiencing this planet, playing out whatever role and experience you wanted to have, but you never lost that connection. And there were lessons that you learned and experiences that you had, and some people were super high priests, some people were priestesses, some people were mermaids, some people were animals, and you name it, right? Over and over again you came down. And so that's where we're going. That's where we're moving to. That is why this transition is so challenging. It's like you can't take this planet and all of a sudden be like, okay, we're going to shift you over to how Lemuria used to be, right? It's like, no. That takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of slow baby steps, step by step by step, moving towards that energy and moving towards that place of being, And that's why all of our families are around, all our star families are around us, helping us. The beings inside Telos are here to help us. All we have to do is ask, pray, manifest, I didn't watch any, the shift will definitely happen in our lifetime, Heather. Abso-freaking-lutely. So if you're here on this planet at this time, unless you decide to leave, right, which is your free will, most of us will be moving into this new way of living. I don't know what it's going to look like, right? Like, I can't tell you that it's going to look like this, this, this. I don't know. I have no idea what it's going to look like. I know that we'll be living like they lived in Lemuria, right? So I know that we will be living from our heart center. I know that we will be able to manifest. I know that we will live in a space of ease and grace. I know that we will no longer be killing animals. I know that there will no longer be greed, suffering, judgment. There will be a sense of being home, yet still on the planet. And we're moving there. We're moving in that space. We're moving in that direction. It's just challenging, but we are moving there. We are going to be in that space and in that frequency. I have no idea when. I don't know. Somebody asked me the other day, when do you think it'll happen? I don't know. Putting a time frame on anything is crazy. I don't want to do it. You know? But man, I've been waiting. I was 13 when I found out that we're ascending. 13, I'm 42. So at 13, I thought, oh, we're ascending. Awesome. Which I thought ascending meant leaving the planet. Literally, when I was 13 and I found out that we're going to be ascending, this is what I thought. I thought that ETs, star beings, there was going to come a time where the planet was going to be like, okay, it's ascension time, we're all ascending. And the beings that were ready to ascend, the starships were going to come and pick us up, right? So the beings that were ready to ascend were going to be like, whoop, going up to the ships. And the beings that just weren't quite ready were going to sort of die with the planet. And then the planet was going to rebuild itself. And thank God that's actually not how it's going to happen. We're all going to be able to stay on the planet, and the planet isn't going to, sink. The continents aren't going to sink like in Lemuria and Atlantis. We're going to be able to stay here and do it while on the planet. Do you know why Atlantis and Lemuria had their differences? They were very, very, very similar. They were exactly the same beings, right? So, and they came from the same star systems, but the continents held different energy. So Atlantis was much more of the masculine, and I don't know why that was. I don't know why right now we're masculine, right? I don't know why that is, and why the feminine is beginning to rise. I'm not sure. But that was the energy that was held on both of these continents. And the beings were the same frequency. They were the same energy field. So they were very, very evolved, very, very powerful, beautiful beings, highly evolved beings. They just, depending upon what continent you were in and what energy you were experiencing, they lived in that energy field, right? So in Atlantis, it was much more of the mind. They were much more technology based, and they were much more individualized. But they weren't any more spiritual or enlightened or anything than Lemuria was. This is an off one, but I read that there are Lemurian spirits trapped somewhere waiting to be free. I've never heard of that, Austin. That's kind of a weird thing to think about. I've never heard of that. I don't know. In Atlantis, what I read was Nibiru. Luna, I missed that one. Hold on, let me go back. I thought I was going to disappear. Atlantis having a lot to do with things as well, and that the serpent race was a big cause for the conflict. Seems to be involved in many things. Yeah, I think there were. So I mean, I'm not super versed on the ETs and all of the things and ways that the ETs, all the ETs are just star beings, right? So ET, star being. I know they interfered a lot. Different ET species, different star species interfered a lot during that time, and they interfered a lot during our time. My understanding and my belief is that they are not interfering the way they used to. But there were many, many, many thousands of years that these not so, not so, what's the word? They had other agendas, and they were trying to stop the light from coming onto the planet. Let's just say that. Nibiru came and messed up the energy. I've never heard of Nibiru. Love to learn more, Luna. Love to learn more about Nibiru. I would love to. Is it a star system? Probably. Yeah, man, there's a lot of, holy cow. So in 1987, the clarion call went out. So many light workers woke up around 1987. They called the clarion call. And it was around 2007 when 2007, and then of course 2012, we all know that date. But 2007 was also a very powerful year. It was the year that everything kind of shifted, and the dark was no longer going to take over or take control. And a lot of these entities that were around the planet trying to stop this light from coming in, stop the planet from ascending. Again, they had their own agendas. Listen, there are bazillions of star beings out there with their own agendas and their own frequency and their own whatever. And Earth is a free-willed planet, right? So people could come and go, or beings could come and go. And it was around 2007, my experience, my understanding, where it shifted and it tilted. And the light was, it's almost like it was like there was so much dark for so long on the planet, and so many entities that were coming in to really impact and interfere with our ascension. And in 2007, it tilted. And it tilted so much that it was never going to go back. And it was at that point that from 2007 on that it started to go like this and this and this. But there were definitely years where it was like, holy shit, are the light workers going to be able to do this? Are we going to be able to shift the energy on the planet enough? I mean, the light workers, there were 144,000 original volunteers on the planet that came down just to do the work that they were supposed to do in 1987 when the clarion call went out. Now there's, so many more of us that are waking up to this. But man, there was a lot of work that was done in the 80s and 90s to bring in this light, to hold this frequency, to get rid of the dark that was coming in and taking over and stopping this ascension and stopping the planet from rising, stopping the planet from ascending. The planet ascended. The planet has already ascended. Now we are ascending with it. That is why we are not going to die and then ascend. We are actually going to ascend on the planet. So we don't have to do what happened with Lemuria, right? We don't have to reenact that entire experience. That doesn't have to happen. It won't happen for us. We will be here. So when Lemuria sank and Atlantis sank, they placed all kinds of crystals. They placed all kinds of crystals with the encoded information and the activations that we would need at this time, and that we would find them at this time. And that's exactly what's happening. We're finding these amazing crystals that are so powerful and so activating for us in the earth, out of nowhere, like just popping up, planted by the Lemurians and the Atlanteans. Nibiru is connected somehow with our secret governments. Nibiru is the lone ship. They got shot out of our solar system thousands of years ago. Oh my God, Luna, you have to talk more about this. I'm so interested. Yeah, I'm not going to go into all the secret government extraterrestrial stuff. I like to keep it light. I like to keep it light. I don't like going in that space. That's just me. But I love to listen to it, so please, I want you to teach me. I would love to know. Yeah. Yeah, do an IG Live, Luna, on it. It'd be so fun. All right, loves, I'm going to get going. Are there any questions really quickly about Lemuria before I head out? Any questions? Yeah, Spirit Science. I watched one of their videos, God, 3 years ago. And it talked all about Lemuria and Atlantis and the fall and the fights and all of that happened. And it was so informative. It was really, really good. It was a really powerful, it was a very activating YouTube. I forgot the name of it. Yeah, I know this info, but I don't give it energy. Yeah, I know, me neither. It's not, I don't know. It's not my purpose, right? All right, my loves. I love you all. Thank you so much for joining. It's been real. Little spiel on Lemuria. And I'll be back tomorrow at 11 a.m. I'm going to talk about the temples inside Telos and what they're for and what they do and how they're here to help us. So join tomorrow, 11 a.m. Recurring dreams about really tall people. Moretta, that can be star beings, Lemurians. A lot of star beings are super tall. A lot of star beings are super short. So they're visiting you, young lady, Morette. Your star family is visiting you, and they are beginning to want to contact you and communicate with you. I was getting that today in my meditation. Just a side note. How there are so many beings around everyone right now that are really trying to activate and awaken you so that they can begin to communicate with you really powerfully. So if you're having those experiences and you're feeling that energy or you're having those dreams, they're there. It's easier for them to communicate with you in your dream state because you're in that you're in your etheric body and your ego is sort of resting. So your ego can't interfere with what you might be hearing, seeing, or feeling. They come from Venus. Oh, I had a lifetime in Venus. Oh my gosh. Morette, I feel my heart is like expanding right now. I had a lifetime in Venus. I don't know very much about it, and I don't know very much about the beings on Venus. So keep talking to them. They take me there and show me. Oh my God, girl! Start sharing that. Maybe an IG Live. That would be amazing. I would love to know more about pretty hot there. Tessa, you're so true. So true. I would love to know more about Venus and what those beings are like and what their experience is and all of this. Yeah, it's so amazing how, hi Katie, hi love. Katie, you should be doing these IG Lives. You have so much to share as well. It's so crazy how much information is coming in right now for all of us and how we all have so much to share. We all have so much to share, right? Like everybody has their unique individual stuff that they're here to share. And gosh, forbid us for holding it back, you know? Like I want to learn about Venus. I want to learn about whatever else everybody else is getting, all the information that's coming in. We're just so insecure about it. Like A, we don't know what we're talking about, and B, nobody wants to hear it. And it's like, no. This is why you're here. This is why you have the information. Why do you think you have the information? Not for you, for everybody else. So Morette, you have this information from Venus and your Venus family because you're here to share their information with us, right? Oh, you do, Saskia? I would love to see it. That would be amazing. So you channel art. Wow, that's so powerful. I'm not an artist, but I admire artists so much when they can channel the energy of different beings. Yeah, show us that. That would be, I would love to see that, Saskia. It's probably on your IG Live, it's probably on your feed somewhere. Yes, I've read many Dolores Cannon books. She's freaking amazing. If nobody has read anything about Dolores Cannon or seen her YouTube videos or Dolores Cannon's amazing. I spoke about my experience with a QHHT like a week and a half ago, by a woman that was trained by Dolores Cannon. I had a QHHT and it was pretty powerful. Um, but yeah, Dolores Cannon was an amazing woman. Yeah, it's pretty powerful. It's pretty interesting the way she was able to get her information, right? So she was a past life regression therapist and she just took people into their past lives. And then the next thing you know, she was watching these people experience all these different star systems and star families. And they were all having these same experiences. And the next thing you know, she's created this QHHT and um, she learned about the 3 waves of volunteers. So as people were being brought back into their past lives, they were talking about how they came here to volunteer. They started talking about how they had missions and purposes. Um, and it was pretty powerful. Um, so anyways, is it cutting out for anyone else? Yeah, Tessa, look her up. I think the book that I resonated the most with was called The 3 Wave of Volunteers. Um, I think that's what it was called. Um, but yeah, she has got great books, so much information, really powerful, powerful information. Dolores Cannon. So, anyways, Maretta, I'd love to hear about Venus. Thank you. And Katie, if you want to get on some IG lives and share with us some information, that would be so great. People have so much to learn from you as well, and everybody on here, right? Oh, the instantaneous healing. Yeah, holy cow. Okay, real quick story on the instantaneous healing. So when you go and get a QHHT, at the end of the QHHT, they have you in such a state, such a trance state, that you are actually your higher self and you can do instantaneous healing. Long story short, one of the things I wanted to stop doing was taking antidepressants. I took Prozac for 12 years. When I went into my eating disorder treatment center, I started getting Prozac. They gave me Prozac. And anyways, it's really hard to come off Prozac. It's absurd. So I wanted to get off Prozac, and you can't just get off Prozac. I was on 40 milligrams, a lot of milligrams, and then I went down to 20 milligrams. But anyways, to get off of it, you have to slow yourself. You have to use a doctor, and you have to slowly start trickling down, and blah blah blah. Otherwise, you go cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. I went into the QHHT. One of the things I wanted to heal was I no longer wanted to take antidepressants. I was done. And so I said it out loud. My higher self said done. She did whatever she needed to do. She was doing her little activations, blah, blah, blah. I walked out and I never took another antidepressant going forward, and never had any up and downs moving through it. Never had any episodes of going up and down or anything. Done. So the QHHTs that Dolores Cannon created have instantaneous healings. It's amazing. It's so powerful. If you're interested in having one, you can go to her website, dolorescannon.com, and go under the practitioners. So only use the QHHT practitioners that have actually been trained by Dolores Cannon. I do not recommend, I mean, you can do whatever you want, but I would recommend using practitioners that have only done the QHHT training through Dolores Cannon. It's just such a powerful, really, really delicate experience that you want to make sure you have somebody that's trained. QHHT, Quantum Healing Hypnosis Therapy. And it's Dolores Cannon created it. And she created it through the many years of doing those past life regressions that she did. She ended up creating a technique called the QHHT, Quantum Healing Hypnosis Therapy. And it's really powerful. It's about 5 hours total, a couple $100. The practitioners tape it, and you can get some major healings, instantaneous healings right away. So if you go to her website, dolorescannon.com, and then you check out the practitioners, there's like a link that sends you all the practitioners all over the world. You click your state, country, state, and city, and then there's practitioners there. Some of them aren't active anymore, but a lot of them are. So take a look. I don't know. I'm sure there's people in Mount Shasta that do it. I would be shocked if there wasn't at least one QHHT therapist. Yeah, it heals cancer. It heals ailments. Dolores Cannon was in shock when she started doing these instantaneous healings. That's why if you get the book, The Three Wave of Volunteers, she explains what happens with these people. These people, and these are not stories made up. These people come to her with, you name the ailment, you name the health issue, and if you are ready to let it go, so that's the thing. You have to, the practitioner isn't doing anything. It's you and your higher self working together. So if you're ready to let it, whatever that is, go on a very deep cellular level, it will be released in the QHHT. If you're not ready to let it go, if you're still wanting to have these lessons it's teaching you, it won't be healed. So you have to be really clear on what you are ready to let go of and what that means in your life. Because even if we have health issues, even if we have disease and whatever it is, on a very unconscious cellular level, we already know you agreed to it, but there is something that is wanting to keep that experience alive in your life. Even though that doesn't make sense, and very consciously you're like, absolutely not. You need to get to a place of understanding why this came into your life, what it was here to teach you, and lovingly let it go. And lovingly say, okay, I'm ready to no longer have this in my life, and really feel that from a heart-centered place, and instead of an ego place, because it's discomfort or whatever that is, right? You are literally coming to a place within you of deep inner knowing of why this came into your life, what it was here to teach you, and looking at it as a partner in your life, and lovingly, with so much love, letting it go. And if you can be in that space with whatever disease or discomforts you have in your life, the QHHT will release it. It no longer serves me, right? This no longer serves me any longer. Thank you so much for what you gave to me, what you created in my life for so many years. I'm ready to take a different timeline. I'm ready to jump onto a different timeline now, right? I'm ready to experience something new. We come onto this planet, we have 12 timelines that we live, all at the same time, simultaneously 12 timelines. So there's 12 different ways that you are experiencing yourself right now. If you don't like what you're experiencing right now, jump to a different timeline. How Matt Can asks, how can we serve it? Yeah, I love that. How can we serve it? Oh, I remember that YouTube. It was so powerful. How can I serve you? God, that was such a powerful statement. So Matt Kahn, if you guys don't know, an amazing spiritual teacher. He's on YouTube. Check it out. Casey, do you remember the name of that YouTube? It was so powerful. He was talking about whatever is in your life, right? So if it's a disease or cancer or a sickness or a feeling you don't like or judgment, anger, jealousy, he says, basically, I'm totally messing it up, but it was basically sort of, how can I serve you? You being the part of you that is in pain, the part of you that is in fear or in jealousy or in rage or in lack mentality. How can I serve you? How can I serve you? That's so freaking powerful to think that way, right? That's loving yourself also. Hi, Jenny. Yeah, so I can't remember that YouTube, the name of it, but it was powerful. Oh, on one of his telesummits, yeah. Anyways, YouTube Matt Kahn, he's got some amazing teachings. It changes everything. It really does. When you think about it like that, how can I serve you? You start to feel a lot of anger or a lot of judgment. How can I serve you, judgment? How can I serve you, judgment, today? You're feeling a lot of sadness. How can I serve you, sadness, today? How can I serve you? Listen to it, right? What does it have to tell you? What is it asking of you? It's pretty amazing. Oh, you're going live. Okay, Luna's going live. I'm going to head out. Love you all. This will be on my YouTube channel. Lori of Lemuria is the YouTube channel. And I'll see you all tomorrow at 11 a.m. Pacific. So much love to you. Casey, I'll see you soon today as well. Love you, Heather. Lori, I have to go, but check your messages. I just sent you a channeling from Archangel Metatron. Ooh, I can't wait. Love you, Katie. Bye, Jenny. See you later. Bye.